This video is about rust treatment options. The method or methods that you choose will depend on how much effort you want to put into it, what tools you have, the workspace you have, and really what you want to get out of it. You just want to buy yourself a little bit of time, or are you looking to make this thing last a whole long time? So the first method and the most popular is a mini grinder with a knotted wire wheel on there. There's also a crimped wire wheel that you can use, a little less aggressive. This still isn't too bad. It doesn't scratch up the surface really. This is something that I used it on, and it doesn't really gouge into it or anything like that. Whereas it's only going to get, surface rust. If that doesn't get the rust off, you need to go up to the next step, which is a grinding disc or a sanding disc. And both of these sparks are flying, and they're really going to scratch into the metal a lot more. The sanding disc isn't great for irregular surfaces or sharp edges because the edge of it will shred up. But they are still really good for flat areas. If you got really thick cancerous rust, this is what you want to go at it, and sparks are going to end up flying. So when you're using it, you want to be mindful of several things. One is the direction of any debris that's coming off of here, or any gases that you're going to end up inhaling. So you really want it to be pointing away from you. These little wires that are on here, they get hot and they flick off and they hit you and they'll sting, and they'll feel sometimes like a little electric zap. When anything like that happens, you don't want to let it distract you. You want to hold on to this and don't overreact or anything like that. So yeah, you want to be wearing your safety protection, eye goggles. I use the ear protection all the time, and unless it's like a small job in an open area, I'll be wearing a mouth protection for that. This is really the best tool, or the most popular tool for getting rust off. It's not going to get down into small areas. The next thing that I'm going to show is chemical based, and that's phosphoric acid. This is concrete metal prep. It is the liquid form of phosphoric acid. This is the most cost-effective chemical solution, rust removal per dollar solution. This is about $20 for this bottle. This is navel jelly. It is phosphoric acid in a gel form. It will stick to surfaces. It'll stay wet longer because it's got to be wet while it's trying to do its work. And this bottle is about $9, so it's over $1 per ounce. So it's a lot more expensive, but I'll still use it a lot of times. So let's say I've got it. I'll use it a lot of times for small areas, and then it'll stay wet a lot longer. With the liquid, what I'll do sometimes, number one, you can just soak it in a bucket, spray it. That's what I did on here. I took these backing plates off, and they didn't really look like they had a whole lot of rust. I didn't notice it, and the paint was all pretty good looking. So I sprayed it with the phosphoric acid, and it doesn't go through paint. Any chemical solution, it only works as far as it can penetrate. But what there was little cracks in those little areas where it was able to get into. I haven't ever had a problem with it taking off paint on an area that didn't have rust. Anytime it's done anything with the paint like this, there was rust underneath it because it was just a little bit. So I didn't realize that they were as they had a little bit of light rust under there. So that's when I took the wire wheel to it and cleaned all this off. And what I'm going to do is I will spray this with phosphoric acid. It does two different things. If for rust, light rust, it will turn it to a black oxide that inhibits oxidation. and you've seen black oxide products like screws and sockets and things like that. They're achieving that in a slightly different way with using sodium hydroxide or sodium nitrate, and it's just a different way, but it's the same concept where they're putting that coating on the outside. So if there's rust, it'll turn it to a black surface, and if you're not really concerned about the visual on it, you can leave it that way. You can either oil it or you can spray paint it. So the other thing that it does on bare metal like this, it passivates it. And that's what this is. That's why this is this dull gray. And that's a real good thing to have before you paint something up. This will also inhibits oxidation. When you use this, either of these two products, they end up leaving this white residue. So you've got two options. One is if you're looking for just like a quick solution and you're not going to paint it, you can just leave it on there. But the other thing to do is just put oil on it, and this is a real kind of waxy oil that stays on the surface for a long time, and you can use it for spraying your undercarriage, inside the frame rails, inside the frame, anywhere the exterior of the frame. But it's just inside the frame. In a lot of those areas, like control arms, you get rust in there because the dirt and things settle and they get wet as well. And by spraying that in there, it's just going to stay there a whole long time. So if you're going to paint this, then you want to get the phosphoric acid off of there. You want to keep it wet until you take it off. And so one of the ways that I use this, there's several ways. One of them is I'll use paper towels to keep the surface wet and put that on there, and that works really well. The other thing is if the thing you're working on is outside, what I'll do is I'll apply it around sunset when the temperatures are going down, the winds are going down, and the humidity is going up. And then that'll keep it wet for a longer period of time. So yeah, you can, so what I'm going to do with this, before I paint this paint here is still kind of glossy, so I'm going to use a pad to scratch it up a little bit. But so I'm going to put this in, spray it with phosphoric acid, and then after it's passivated, which is to make it inhibit the rust, I will take it out and I'll clean it off with acetone. Both of these are susceptible to flash rust. They're still going to get a little bit of flash rust. So acetone hasn't done that for me. So I clean with acetone, let it dry it off, and then just paint it right after that. You need to be aware that, as it says on the bottle, it's concrete and metal prep, that it etches concrete. So my garage floor has a bunch of white spots on that. So if you don't want white spots, don't do it in your garage, and make sure that you put plastic down. These are acids. Sounds scary, but they're really mild acids. Phosphoric acid is what they put in Coca-Cola to give it a bite to offset the sweetness, and that's what eats your teeth. And that's why people say that you should use Coca-Cola to get rid of rust, but no, you should not use Coca-Cola with all that sugar in it. Just use phosphoric acid. It's a really good product. It's not, like I said, is the base of it. You don't want to drink this, but it's something that's not toxic. And there are a lot of products on the market that are phosphoric acid based, that are straight like this, and they'll kind of have the same results. And there's also like evaporust, which is they start with phosphoric acid and they make something completely different. I don't know what they're doing, but if you use phosphoric acid on nuts or bolts that are zinc plated, like all the nuts and bolts on your vehicle, it will remove that zinc plating in a matter of seconds. So you don't want to do that. The Evapo-Rust, that won't do that. It's a little milder. It costs more. It's about $30 a gallon, and you don't get as much rust removal for your money. They're both, like I said, they're both not toxic. Evapo-Rust, they say when you want to get rid of it, pour it down your drain. I have a septic tank, so I didn't want to put that into my septic tank, so I just let it dry in a bucket, and then it's going to the dump. Yeah, it comes out, it's like a weird gel. You don't want that solid in your septic tank. You can find this product at hardware stores, Home Depot or Lowe's, in the cleaning section of the paint department. POR 15 is a popular product. It's really a last resort to me. It stands for paint over rust, so you're going to use it if you want to put in a low level of effort and something might be really bad and it's not worth a lot of effort, but you want to prolong the life of it. There are a lot of other products out there on the market, just at local hardware stores, that are the same concept, and POR 15 has really good marketing, and that's why everybody recognizes that brand. But there are a lot of other products that are out there, and if you read the description of them, you'll see that it's a coating that turns black. It's not the metal's not turning black, the coating is turning black, and they're not UV resistant. So if you do use POR 15 or one of those other things, you should paint it. Even if something's on the underside of your vehicle, it's getting UV reflected up to it. Another rust removal method is electrolysis. You get a bucket, put some water in there, and you add washing soda, which is sodium carbonate, or pickling salt, which is sodium chloride, and you use a 12 volt power supply that's about 10 to 15 amps. And you stick, if I wanted to remove any little rust that was down into here, I would stick this on the negative terminal, and then the positive terminal gets attached to a sacrificial piece of metal, steel, and then that will remove the rust through electrolysis. There's a bunch of videos out on YouTube that'll show you the details on that. I just kind of want to let you know of it as an option. The last method that I'm going to talk about is sandblasting. This is the sandblasting gun that I have. You stick the hose over there on the end of here, and then the other metal piece down into a bucket full of aggregate. I use sand. There are other things that are out there, like walnuts and plastics and other synthetics. I get bags of sand from Home Depot, and it's sharp. It's not regular sand. It's not playground sand, and you want to be aware that number one, that sand goes everywhere and it can go in your eyes, and even when you have goggles on it, not like just a pair of glasses, the goggles, it'll work its way into all of the crevices in there. So it's more difficult to work with. You're going to need a big compressor in order to run a sandblaster, because when you're pulling the trigger, you're just letting air go, and you would need for that gun to just keep on working and doing something full time, you would probably need a 5 horsepower compressor with a large tank. I've run it with 80 gallons of storage on a 2 horsepower, and what I would do is I would work for quite a long time and then give my air compressor time to catch up and fill the tank, let it cool off a little bit, and then go at it again. You can't use like a little pancake air compressor for that. You need some storage. It leaves an excellent surface for paint, and it gets down into every little crevice, and it does the best job for removing rust, but you need equipment and it's more of a mess. And that's all I got. I just wanted to give an overview of all the different options. People are always throwing the question out there on social media, what should I, how should I treat this? And it's difficult to do in that little box. The mini grinder is your best friend. If you have an air compressor, the angle die grinder is really good too for getting into tighter spaces. Like, share, and subscribe.